Hi boys and girls, it's Mr. Yates, and in this video we're going to go over the answers to the Chapter 11 math practice test. In this one, I want you to check your work, make sure you fix any mistakes that you made, and you can use this as your cheat sheet for the Chapter 11 math test because the answers on this one and the problems on this one are going to be very similar to what you're going to see on the actual math test today. So keep it with you, use it as your cheat sheet, and make sure you fix any mistakes that you made. We'll take a look right here. First of all, number one, we're going to be doing 28 feet equals yards and feet. And that's always a good indication that you're going to be dealing with, let me turn on the lens here. All right. You can have a remainder, and you do. I divided 28 divided by 3, which is the number of feet in 1 yard, and ended up with 9 yards and 1 foot. For number two, it was 68 inches equals feet and inches again, which means that there's going to be a remainder. It looks like I'm going to be dividing. I'm going to be dividing 68 by the number of inches in 1 foot, which is 12. I end up with 5 feet, remainder of 8. So that becomes 5 feet, 8 inches. For number three, I have 30 ounces equals pounds and ounces. And again, it looks like I'm going to be having a remainder because they're giving you the ounces right here. So what I'll do is I know that 1 pound equals 16 ounces. So I'm going to divide 30 divided by 16, which equals 1 pound, and a remainder of 14 ounces. So for number three, it's 1 pound, 14 ounces. On number four, I have 2.5 tons, which I decided I'm going to change into a decimal because I know that 1/2 equals 5/10. That's going to make it a little bit easier for me to convert. I know that 2,000 pounds are in 1 ton. So I'm going to multiply 2,000 multiplied by 2.5, 2.5 tons, and end up with 5,000 pounds. So on this one, I can convert the fraction over to a decimal, and that makes it a lot easier to convert. Let's take a look at number 5 now. On number 5, again, I'm going to be having a remainder, so that means I'm probably going to be dividing. I'm going to be taking 97 fluid ounces and dividing it by the number of fluid ounces in 1 cup, which is 8. That's going to get me 12 with a remainder of 1. So I know that 97 fluid ounces is equal to 97 fluid ounces is equal to 12 cups with a remainder of 1 fluid ounce. A couple word problems down here. Make sure, boys and girls, that when you're doing word problems that you do use answer sentences. Sharon and Wally are seeing who can throw a baseball farther. Wally threw the ball 35 yards and Sharon threw the ball 123 feet. Who threw the baseball farther? On this one, the answer is Sharon threw the ball farther, making sure that you have an answer sentence. I converted 35 yards into feet so I can compare. So 1 yard equals 3 feet. 35 times 3 equals 105 feet. And that's going to be less than 123 feet. And so I know that Sharon, who threw the ball 123 feet, threw it farther. For number 4, it says, for a meeting, Mr. and Mrs. Gonzalez made 3.5 gallons of coffee. How many quarts of coffee did they make? So boys and girls, on this one, we're going to be converting the gallons into quarts. So what I did is I know that, I wrote it down here. I know that 4 quarts equals 1 gallon. So then I took and again, I see 3.5 right here. So I want to turn that into a decimal, 3.5. That's easier to multiply. So I'm going to take 3 5/10 times 4 to get the number of quarts. I multiplied it here and I got 14 quarts. So the answer is they made 14 quarts of coffee. That's a lot of coffee. Now I'm going to move on to number 8. Elliot threw a disc 35 feet and 10 inches. How many inches total did he throw the disc? I've already got the 10 as inches. I just need to convert the 35 feet into inches. I know that 12 inches equals 1 foot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 35 multiplied by 12. That's going to equal 420 inches. I'm going to add the 10 and the 420 together. 420 plus 10 will get me my total inches, which is 430 inches. I paid close attention to making sure I have the word inches in my answer sentence. And I write a complete answer sentence that says he threw the disc a total of 430 inches. Let's go on down now to number 9. On number 9, it says Bailey and Edna bought a puppy that weighed 12 pounds and 9 ounces. How many ounces total did the puppy weigh? So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be converting pounds into ounces. The puppy weighs 12 pounds and 9 ounces, so I know that I don't have to convert this 9 ounces over. I just have to convert this 12 pounds over to ounces. So I know that there are 16 ounces in 1 pound. So I'll multiply 12 times 16 to get the total number of ounces. 12 times 16, I multiply that over here, got 192 ounces. I add that together and get 201 total ounces. So the puppy weighed 201 ounces. Let's move on down to number 10 now. Now on this one, we're going to be doing some more conversions. This time we're doing some conversions into metric units of measurement, which is actually a lot easier because now I can use the King Henry died unexpectedly drinking chocolate milk. So what I'll do is I will look at the first one, number 10. I'm taking 5 grams and converting it into milligrams. So I write out my King Henry died unexpectedly drinking chocolate milk. U is the unit of measurement. The base unit is G, grams is going to be right here. M is for milligrams, which is the M right here for milligrams. That means I'm going to be moving to the right 1, 2, 3 spaces. I'm going to move the decimal to the right 1, 2, 3 spaces. I add a couple zeros here to make it easier for me to move my decimal. And when I moved it over 3 spaces, I ended up with 5,000 milligrams. So 5 grams equals 5,000 milligrams. On my worksheet or on my scratch paper, I just wrote out the King Henry died unexpectedly drinking chocolate milk up on the top and used that as my basis for converting all these metric units of measurement. It made it a lot easier. Number 11 was 4 meters equals blank millimeters. I move the decimal to the right 1, 2, 3 times because I'm converting from meters, the base unit, to millimeters. 1, 2, 3. I think I said 4 on the last one. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3 times over to the right. So I move the decimal over 1, 2, 3 times, annexed a few zeros to make it easier to move, and end up with 4,000 millimeters is equal to 4 meters. I'm going to go on to number 12. On number 12, it was 28 liters equals 28,000 milliliters. I did that by moving my decimal over. My base unit was the U right here for liters. And I used a capital L, and I used a lowercase m and a capital L for milliliters and liters. We do that because if we just put a plain old L, lowercase l looks like a 1. So I'm going to move the decimal over to the right 1, 2, 3 spaces. So I'm going to move the decimal over here 1, 2, 3 spaces and end up with 28,000 milliliters. I'm going to do basically the same thing with 68 grams into milligrams. I'm going to take the 68. I know I'm moving over from my base unit of grams, 1, 2, 3, down to milligrams to the right. So I'm going to move my decimal, annex some zeros, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to end up with 68,000 milligrams. Make sure that you write your answers today in your test, just like I'm doing here. 95,000 millimeters equals 95 kilometers using the units of measurement labeled here, the complete expression. For here, I said that this is a word problem, so I'm going to go ahead and take a look at what the words are going to be. Katie's book has a mass of 800 grams. What is that mass in milligrams? So we're just basically doing some conversion, and we're going to be adding an answer sentence. The mass is, and you can say the book's mass, that's fine too. I move the decimal over from grams, 1, 2, 3 spaces to the right to milligrams. Because remember, we're doing it up here. Grams to milligrams, 1, 2, 3 spaces to the right. So that means that I'm going to be ending up with 800,000 milligrams. And making sure that I do an answer sentence. Number 16, Howie wants to measure the distance between Seattle, Washington, and Baltimore, Maryland. Which metric unit should he use? This one you don't have to do any work on. You just had to think about it. I'm measuring distance. That means I'm going to be using meters or kilometers or millimeters or centimeters. When you want to measure something like big, like long, like the distance between 2 cities, your best bet is to use something like kilometers because If you have millimeters, you're going to be having billions and billions of millimeters, and that's a little confusing to understand really how far away something is when you're measuring in millimeters. You're better off using kilometers. So the bigger, the heavier, the longer, the farther away something is, the bigger unit of measurement you want to use, because you really want to have smaller numbers. You don't want to say like billions of kilometers or hundreds of millions of centimeters or, you know, thousands and thousands of meters. You'd rather just use like a couple hundred kilometers. It's just easier for us to understand. So that's why he should use kilometers. On number 17, you're going to be converting some more units of measurement. You're going to be taking 47 centimeters and turning it into millimeters. Again, you're going to be moving, this time not as far, but you're going to be moving the decimal. You're going to use your King Henry chart here. You're just going to be moving from centimeters to meters. That's only one jump to the right. So I'm going to annex a few zeros, put my decimal in, and move over just one hop to the right. So 47 centimeters equals 470 millimeters. I don't need a decimal at the end of this for any additional zeros. And also have here 38 quarts equals gallons. I know that 4 quarts equals 1 gallon. So I'm going to erase that word gallon. I also know that 32, what I'll do is I'll take 32 and divide it by the number of quarts in 1 gallon, which is 4, and that'll give me 8. So I know that 32 quarts equals 8 gallons. Just a few more to do, boys and girls. Number 19, I know that 2 cups equals 1 pint. And so my question is 62 cups equals blank pints. I'm going to take and divide 62 cups, and I'm going to be dividing it into the number of cups in 1 pint, which is 2. So 62 divided by 2 is 31. So I now know that 62 cups is equal to 31 pints. Now that's for the first part of today's test. Those are the type of questions you're going to see on part 1 of today's test. The second part of today's test is going to be a separate section, and it's going to be making a line plot of the measurements in the table. Now, boys and girls, I did this in more detail and walked you through it, so I'm just going to go through it right now. You want to make sure that, see here where it says that your distance ran, you want to make sure you have your distance ran as your title. Same as right up here. You also want to draw a line that shows your fractions on them. And you want to mark down each one of the fractions that you see. There was 1/8, 1/4, 1/3, 1/2, and 1 is going to be the end, and 0 is the beginning. We want to just have all the fractions in between there. I'm trying to put them in roughly the right place. It would be, this is 1/2, this is about 1/3, about here for 1/4, and about here for 1/8. Then what I do is I count up the number of people that ran each distance. For 1/8 of a mile, it looks like 2 people did. For 1/4 of a mile, it looks like 1, 2, 3 people. For 1/3, 1, 2, 3. And for 1/2, 1, 2. So for each person that ran, you're going to put an X on the chart. So for example, what I'll do right here is for 1/3, I see that there are 3 people that ran that distance. So on my chart, I'm going to be putting right here 1, 2, 3 X's for each one of the people that ran that distance. And I'm going to do that for every single one of the other distances too, making sure the X's are nice and even and the same size, because it makes it a lot easier to understand the chart. If the X's are different sizes, it's very difficult to read. The next thing I want to work on is, after I do my chart, I'm going to write out a fair share. Fair share just basically means if everybody got the same amount or did the same amount of distance. So we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 people that ran. The fair share would be if everybody ran the same distance. You would be able to figure that out by doing this. You're going to add all the fractions up first and then divide them by the number of people total. So what I'll do is I'm going to take and I'm going to add up, and I'll just write it right here. I'm going to take all my 1/8 and add them up. There's 2 1/8, so 1/8 plus 1/8 equals 2/8, which I simplify down to 1/4. That makes it easier for later adding. Over here I have 1, 2, 3/4, so I'm going to take 1, 2, and 3 fourths and add them together and I get 3/4, which I'm going to keep the same because these two denominators are the same. That'll help me to add. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at my 1/3. I have 1, 2, 3/3, which is 3/3, which I can simplify down to 1 whole. That's going to make it easier to add. Finally, I have 1/2. I have 2 x's, so 2 1/2, which I'm adding up here, 1/2 plus 1/2, which equals to 2/2. And that I can simplify down into 1. Now what I need to do is I need to add all these fractions up and whole numbers up right here. And then I'll get my total that I'm going to divide. And I added them up right here. So what I did is I added up. I took my 4/4 right here. And I realized I added up 1/4 and 3/4, and I got 4/4. I took that 4/4 and put it right here as the number 1 because that simplifies down to 1. Then I took my 1 that I added up here and added it to here. Then I took the 1 that I figured out here and added it to here. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3 miles. I'm almost done. The next thing I have to do is I have to take that 3 miles and divide it by the total number of people that are running. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry about that. 10 miles. 10 runners, I mean. So I'm going to take 3, the total of miles that I have, and divide it by the total number of runners, which is 10. Now, what's nice is that I don't have to actually divide. I can just write a division fraction to show the total miles fair share. I'll take my 3 and I'll turn that into my numerator for the fraction. The next thing I'll do is I'll take the 10 and turn that into my denominator. So I'm showing 3 divided by 10 as 3/10. That means that I could take that 3/10 and turn that into my answer for my fair share. The fair share is 3/10, and I'm going to write it as an answer sentence, of a mile, because it's a fraction. It's a little bit easier to write of a mile there. So boys and girls, that's what I need you to show me on the second part of your Chapter 11 test. Make sure you show me your title, your chart, how you added it all up, how you made the fair share, and also your answer sentence that tells me what the fair share is. And that's all there is to it. If you have questions before you start on the test, let me know. All right, thanks for listening to the thanks for listening for the answers for the Chapter 11 practice test, and good luck on the real test today for Chapter 11. Thanks, boys and girls.